Small town. Damn, that's you strictly.
Ladies and gentlemen, as it turns out, the Tigers did God's work in eliminating the Astros. Derrick Rose is retired. NBA Media Week has been entertaining to say the least, and we are back once again to give you the real in sports. I'm your co-host, Small Town EP, live from Atlanta. They are Wade Julian, live from New York City. Special guest this evening, Miss Allie Campbell, live from the University of Tennessee, and you are now tuned in to your number one sports talk show on the All Things Sports Network, brought to you by Small Town Productions. Ticker up top, brought to you by ESPN Bet. Allie, great to have you back. How is everything? Talk to us.
So great. So happy to be here. It's a busy season, really diving into the college football analysis, especially the Tennessee side of things, but we're having a good season so far. So it's been good.
Oh, yeah. We're going to get to your volunteers in a little bit.
Awesome. Can't wait.
If any of the listeners tapped in on Monday's stream, June was a little under the weather in the middle of the stream, but he's back full effect. Everything is all good. June, how's New York City treating you this week?
It's been good. It's good to be back home. I took like a week and a half off, and when you get back home, I was telling you over the phone, like, yo, it's just always good to get back to your bed, your house, like, your routine. Yeah. And so, unfortunately, I kind of dealt with the weather change. I don't know what hit me, but I got hit with a brick, and was during the show. I'm like trying to blow my nose. I had to turn my camera on and off, and it was like, wow, what's going on? But we're here. We're good. I might cough once or twice, but thankfully we're virtual. Nobody can catch anything from me. So I'm glad to see both of y'all. How y'all doing, man? EP, you good?
I'm great, man. I'm great. The weather is, cooling down in Atlanta. We're getting kind of warmer afternoons, but for the most part throughout the day, I can't complain, man. Everything is all good. Everything is all good. Playoff baseball's here, and you know what I'm saying? Let's get right into it. We have a live wild card game right now going on in Milwaukee. Game 3, rubber match as they call it. The Mets in Milwaukee, top of the 8th, 1 out. Mets are down 2-0. I thought that we wouldn't even need a game 3, June. What has surprised you about this Mets team thus far in the wild card?
I mean, they're playing really, really well on defense, and they're pitching the ball really well. We saw tonight Jose Quintana coming over and just dealing. Unfortunately, it looks like he got blown up in the 7th or something happened there. As soon as I don't know, I was like watching the game, and then I got in the shower, had the game on in the shower, and it was those games where it's a pitching duel are entertaining, but you kind of come back and forth to them because you're like, all right, at this point, it doesn't look like they'll score. Sometimes you want to stick around and see if it pops. I turned it off for 2 seconds when I was setting up to record, and now I'm like, okay, it's 2-0. So the Mets at this point, I don't care what they did to get here or what happened. They're at the point of break. And so, can they score within the 8th or the ninth inning here and take this team to the playoffs? They're here in the wild card, but they want to get to the DS. And so, if they get eliminated here, you thought they were going to win in 2 games. It's taking 3, if so. But if they lose here, it's going to be big time and a lot of disappointment. But in the wise words of Kev, not even wise, in the real words of Kev, it's the Mets thing to do. So
there you go.
Would it
Yeah,
be
man.
surprising?
Everyone on their team except for Francisco Lindor is 0-4 right now. He's 2 for 3. Everybody else is 0-4 or something. And it's funny because the first 2 games he was 0 for 6. Ali, how you liking this Mets and Brewers matchup right now?
Yeah, I mean, well, the Mets gave us hell, and us being the Braves as an Atlanta fan, which is an unfortunate timing, but I'm sure we'll get to that later. Yeah, I mean, they've been able to really come out and perform. I can speak from a Braves perspective. We, pulled through in that first game, and it was very exciting. And then I guess with the schedule change and switching the games to doubleheaders on Monday, the second game, wow, what a game. Did you guys have the opportunity to watch that? That was absurd.
Yeah. It was. It was
crazy.
Yeah, their ability to stay in it and hold their own is just really talented and shows a lot about them. But at the same time, they weren't able to pull through in that third game with us. So who knows how they're going to handle this Brewers series.
We'll double back to baseball in a little bit. I want to get into football because there's a whole lot of football to get into, starting with the live look-in in Atlanta right now. The Falcons are hosting Tampa Bay. Score 17-14. Tampa Bay's up with about 7 minutes left in the second quarter, approaching halftime. Kirk Cousins, 15 for 19, 200 yards already. It's not even halftime with 2 touchdowns. Last week, they went scoreless on offense. This week, it's looking a little different. June, who do you see pulling away from this game?
This one's close. And you didn't want to put money on this for whatever personal reasons you might have, but I still don't want to put money on this one. This is looking like a Tampa Bay Atlanta game. Right now, I think that just as far as continuity goes, that's kind of the only thing that I would be able to bet on right now, because we don't even know what Buccaneers team is going to come out week in and week out, right? We've seen them really come out and dominate. We've seen them struggle against Bo Nix and the Broncos, who also beat Aaron Rodgers this past Sunday. And so it's a little uncertain, but they're sitting at 3-1. And the only thing I could think of is that their continuity with what their group of guys have been able to do over the last year and a half, that's what leads me to believe they'll probably come out victorious here. But who knows, man? This is going to be a good NFC South game right here.
Yeah, absolutely. As they are. They're always close. What's up, Allie?
Mm-hmm.
We have a score update, 17-17.
Oh,
yeah. He was 0 for 1. He missed his first attempt.
Yo, my man cashed my ticket last weekend.
It's live and happening right now, so that's super cool that we get to talk about it while it's actually going on. But
definitely.
as a Falcons fan, maybe I don't really have an NFL team. I'm sorry, but I am from Atlanta, so we'll go with that. Kirk Cousins is someone that I was very excited about when we first brought him on. But he seemed very timid at the beginning of the season, and now he's kind of settled in just a little bit more, but you never know what you're going to expect from him. And then Baker Mayfield, on the other hand, just a really solid, consistent quarterback. So I'm but I'm expecting the Bucs to take it home.
Hey, June to tell you, I'm big on Baker. Baker was who Johnny Manziel. Baker is who we thought Johnny Manziel was going to be. I'm super big on the Big Show. I appreciate, I guess, the fun that he's having in Tampa Bay, as he put it. Right. All right.
Yeah.
I want to take it back. We're gonna stay in the NFL, June, Allie. I want to take it back. September 22nd. Carolina beats the Raiders. Right. And Antonio Pierce comes into the press conference, and the famous quotable line.
Oh shit! Wow.
Yeah. We're going straight there, June. We're going straight there.
I didn't put 2 and 2 together. Sorry.
Antonio Pierce comes out with the quotable line after the media asks him, it seems like his team didn't really show up. Or it wasn't a question. They just kind of mentioned it looked like his team didn't really show up. He said, yeah, a lot of people made business decisions today. We'll make business decisions moving forward. There's a lot of speculation that, he was talking about the cornerback. I forget his name. That kind of was, there's video footage of him, of him just half-assing plays, not finishing tackles, not, going full force. And there was also obviously speculation of Devontae Adams with the frustration that he's been going through. And now this week, he officially asked to be traded out of Las Vegas, preferably to either the New York Jets or to the New Orleans Saints, either play with Derek Carr, play with AR-12, Aaron Rodgers. Shout out to Kev, who's not here. He's on a flight to Montreal right now for some work, so shout out to Kev. But Ali, I'll direct it towards you first. Where should Devontae Adams land at this point?
I believe that he should end up at the Chiefs. I don't think that's going to happen because they've openly talked about how they aren't going to do that. And he has openly talked about how he wants to play with a quarterback who he's comfortable with and who he knows. But the Chiefs, we thought they were down in sorry if this is hitting home for you, but they lost a couple of receivers. That was already upsetting, and then they lose Rashee Rice, who was announced to be out for at least 4 weeks as of today. He's still getting some tests back and everything, but this is a player that can make an immediate impact for this team. And with a Mahomes and a Travis Kelce, that's a team that has the personnel to go far, but they're lacking the receivers. So they're missing a couple pieces, so he could really benefit them. Where I think he is going to end up is the Jets, another team that could look for some immediate impact. He's in his 30s, so we're going to see him starting to decline at some point, and it's probably a couple years from now, but I think he would benefit a team that can do a lot right now and is just missing a piece or two.
Yeah, I mean, I agree as far as Chiefs looking like a good option. Obviously, Las Vegas, Kansas City being rivals, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Just to backtrack real quick, I didn't realize the business decision comment probably has to do with this situation. And it may or may not, it might not be the case, but it's pretty bold of Antonio Pierce, excuse me. I'm thinking of my Colt guy. Antonio Pierce to come out here and, kind of call out a Pro Bowler in that sense, right? As far as effort or something like that, it's kind of weird because Devontae Adams, we don't know him for that, right? And so, again, this is speculation. We could be onto something that really ain't there. However, he has since requested a trade. He said he hasn't spoke to Coach Pierce on the Hey K Adams show. And so, yeah, there's got to be some sort of rift that happened between September 22nd and October 2nd. I'm excited for that news because it's news that we've been waiting for since the end of last season. Last season, I wanted it to happen. My dad, shout out to my pops, being a Raider fan. I hate he has to kind of deal with this type of stuff, man. But hopefully they tank and get a good quarterback in the draft this year. But moving forward, it's got to be Aaron Rodgers. I mean, they have so much unfinished business and hopes at another championship. This Jets team at this moment going into week 5 doesn't look like a Super Bowl contender. However, I think through time and more reps, more adversity they face, they're gonna be okay. And I think they'll fight for a playoff spot. And once Aaron Rodgers, is there, that's up to him. So with his old pal, he has Alan Lazard, another old pal, and also a young superstar, Garrett Wilson. That's a very, very beautiful wide receiving core. If you ask me, they probably move up to number 1 over the Eagles and Devontae Smith in the company. So I would love to see him go to the Jets. Another name, though, and it was a name on his list, is the Saints. And so seeing him team up with his old teammate, Derek Carr, from college, from the Raiders, he never wanted Derek Carr to leave Las Vegas. That was a Raiders decision, And so the Saints being in the position that they are, I think this is very interesting because we're watching a good game here, Bucks and Falcons. EP, we've said it for the last 2-3 years every time we talk about the NFC South. it's the most winnable division in football, right? And you never know who's going to do it, but you always have a chance if you're in it. So if you bring him to that wide receiving core with Olave, Shaheed, um, and Carr, he's letting it rip this year. So it's going to be exciting because we know he's going to get traded. They're not going to keep all that money. This isn't the NBA where Joe Cronin is going to try to just send him on his worst way, and it's going to be a healthy situation in my opinion. I'm excited to see it. I hope he goes to the Jets though.
Yeah, I love Antonio Pierce's just cadence in these media days, and when he's talking to the media, they're trying to bait him into saying things, and he's just like, "Nah, me and him speak often. We're worried about the next opponent. We're worried about Denver, if I'm not mistaken, is who they play this week. We're worried about the next person. We're worried about the next person. We're worried about that. We speak often. He's very well media trained. I will put this in your ear, June. Pause. Washington.
Please.
I think Washington needs to give the Raiders a call. I think if you pair Devontae Adams with Terry McLaurin, Jaden Daniels already being ahead of the curve, right? As far as expectations and what he's doing right now, I think that Washington's crazy to not give the Raiders a call right now and see what they can offer for Devontae Adams. You had something, June? We'll get June right back. We're having some technical difficulties. Yeah, but like I was telling you, Ali, I know we spoke off air. I just think that Washington is I don't want to say the best fit, but the best option for them right now, just to pair them with Terry McLaurin and get that offense clicking on an extra cylinder than they are already clicking on.
That's an increase.
I have your audio, June. Let me see if I can get your visual.
It strikes me because yesterday I was actually doing a Madden franchise online with a couple friends, and we were sitting in the party like, who do you guys want to be? Who do you guys want to be? And I'm looking at Washington. I'm like, yo, who's on Washington's receiving core? I know they got McLaurin. I know they traded Dodson, but like, and I looked and it was like Diami Brown and they have Luke McCaffrey. I'm like, Jaden Daniels balling, 82 completion percentage. You sent me the stat. I saw Sunday. He's making history as a rookie, and what we're seeing is not anything of a fluke. This is like him commanding an offense, being comfortable as a fifth-year senior coming out of college, Heisman Trophy winner, and taking on the challenge with an offensive coordinator who understands the college football quarterback mind, and also him coming into the league and making a fun type of offense, but keeping it simple at this point of his career. So there's a lot going on for them, and they're doing a lot of things right. Thankfully, their defense is complementing the offense. And Daron Payne actually came out and said he's been there for a long time now. He's like, it's pretty fun now. I get to sit on the sideline and drink my Gatorade. I don't have to just stay on the field all game. And things like that is when you can tell that there has been a shift. Like, this isn't something that, we won a game or two and this is crazy. Like, this feels like the new Washington Commanders team we're going to see going forward, which is why I talked about them possibly winning the division. Devontae Adams would be great. Terry McLaurin, he deserves, a companion over there with a good quarterback because he's delivering every year. He's one of those underrated guys. So that was another cool name that you mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was actually telling Ali off air before you joined that LSU in Jaden Daniels' senior year started using technology, virtual.
Oh,
yeah, the virtual technology and the meta and the VR. And now, as soon as the Washington Commanders drafted him, they installed it into their system. So he gets those mental reps. Doesn't have to put necessarily strain onto his, physical strain onto his body, but those mental reps are just as beneficial for him. I will say this, great stat. Jaden Daniels is one of 4 QBs to have a completion percentage above 76 through their first 4 games with a minimum of 75 attempts. He joins the list of Tom Brady in 2007, Geno Smith in 2002, and Kyler Murray in 2021. I mean, good company to be in as far as the stat is concerned.
Go ahead, Ali. I want to let you get that off.
Absolutely incredible, and none of them were rookies when they got that percentage.
Thank you. I was gonna say Tom Brady was his
Yeah.
MVP season, if I'm not mistaken. It was like Super Bowl season, Tom Brady. And then Geno Smith won. If he didn't win Comeback Player of the Year or something, that was the year he started in Seattle, where he really had a great year.
They wrote
And
me
then the
off.
Kyler Murray 2021 was Kyler Murray's playoff season, where they went to Arizona. They played the Rams in the wild card. So yeah, great point, Ali. I noticed that, and I was like, this is a young guy who knows what he's doing. I wanted to piggyback real quick, not even piggyback, but go back to that Antonio Pierce conversation, because there was news today that he gets a show cause penalty at Arizona State. So right now he basically got this 8-year show cause order because of violations that occurred when he was an assistant coach, and it was like it was things of like breaking the recruiting rules during the COVID pandemic. He was like taking parents to the adult strip clubs. You know what I'm saying? He was just getting it in how he had to. And so they said that if he does get a job here in college football, he'll be suspended from all football activities for 1 year. But I read a comment and they're like, "Yo, NCAA is always going to lay a penalty on somebody that once they're gone and nobody can do this." It's just pretty funny.
Too.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh my god, that's funny. And the me is putting a whole bunch of hoopla on him liking the social media post of,
right.
of Devontae Adams possibly
Hey,
leaving.
I'll say this though, he's in hot water because who does Vegas? I don't know who they play next week, but they got to win. And Antonio Pierce, I know that he won the locker room over. He won some of the fan base over. But at the end of the day, you have to produce wins. Losing to Carolina left a bad taste in the owners.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to say that, but yeah, you know what I mean. And so going forward this season, now that you're going to trade, it looks like your best player on offense, Max Crosby's the best player on offense. What are you guys going to do, and how do you respond to that? Because this doesn't mean lay down unless there's the inside job again, trying to tank and go for the quarterback. But the Raiders just win motto, right, should stand. And I expect them to be a team to compete as they were last year, right? They came out and could have really tanked at the end of last year, and they put up a fight. So let's see if they're going to put up that same fight throughout the rest of this season, because it's still a lot of time left.
Raiders on the road in Denver this week. They are 2.5-point underdogs. Vegas is saying, hey, they're actually about a half point better than Denver, and we'll see how that matchup turns out. Let's kick it to the NFL this week. We have our first London game, 9:30 a.m. Sunday morning. Yeah, the Jets and the Vikings. The Jets and the Vikings. If I'm not mistaken, the Minnesota Vikings are 2.5-point favorites on a neutral turf. So this is another situation where this is a neutral turf. As we know, NFL teams get 3 points automatically for being at home. Neutral turf, 2.5-point favorites. Away team, being the Jets, if I may, are about not too much underdogs. But June, will the Vikings return back from London still undefeated?
And this is a tough one, man, because as well as they're playing and the Jets having the issues they're having, it's one of those games that are like, what are we going to get? Because we could see Minnesota just come out and road to 5-0, but the Jets have to win. This is a obviously not a must-win game, but this is a game you don't want to fall to under 500, and after a month of football starts. So with all the rifts going on in the locker room, do Salah and Rodgers have a good relationship and XYZ? I think the Jets really, really want to come out and get this win. With that being said, Brian Flores is dialing up amazing defensive schemes week after week, and Kevin O'Connell has Sam Darnold looking like he's back at USC. He's also looking like the second pick of the draft. You know what I mean? Or third overall pick, whatever he was. It takes time for quarterbacks to develop. We've heard that from Tom Brady. We've heard that from a lot of people. And that could be what we're seeing right now. They have a team full of talent. I think Aaron Jones was an amazing pickup. I think the Minnesota Vikings hold on 5-0, come back to the Americas as the only, and I say this confidently this week, EP, they come back to the Americas as the only undefeated team. Because in week 5, I just have to bring it up. Your Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football.
Monday night
at home to the Saints.
That listen, that I can. We'll get to all of that because that I can say that I can probably see. That's one of those games the
Yeah.
Chiefs will. We haven't been 5-0 since 2018, but hey,
And that's
neither
why I don't
here.
smell it again. Rashi Rice, you know what I mean? It's a lot.
We have not been 5-0 since 2018. I believe we lost a divisional or wild card that year to Tennessee, and that was one of those games that Derrick Henry was doing what King Henry likes to do, right? Let's take it. We just spoke about the Commanders as far as destination for Devontae Adams. Let's take it down to Washington, where the Browns are in town, right? They are 3-point underdogs. Washington is getting the home field advantage. June. Now, what can the Browns do to contain Jaden Daniels?
Pressure. Miles Garrett is the X factor for me in this game. I think when you have a rookie quarterback, you want to get pressure. A young quarterback, I should say. We saw Justin Fields, and we'll get to that. Colts, you know what I'm saying? It was pressure. It was pressure. So if you can get to apologies. But if you can get to the quarterback here, I think that you're gonna have him uncomfortable. We haven't seen him under duress, so we don't really know how it's gonna look once he faces that. And hey, he might be the Heisman Trophy LSU quarterback under pressure as well. Um, but aside from just Miles Garrett, Deshaun Watson is going to have to outplay him as well. So if they want to win this game, they're just going to have to come out and be the better team on Sunday. I don't think that this is a game that they can make mistakes and then still try to find their way to win it at the end. Washington has been able to capitalize on a lot of things this season, and they could easily be at 4-0 right now. So we'll do that.
Allie, we got Allie back. We lost her momentarily, but we got her back. Allie, we're on Browns Commanders right now. We just spoke about Washington with a potential landing spot for Devontae Adams. Jaden Daniels on fire. Browns, we're not really too sure about. They have an all right defense this year. It's supposed to be a lot better than it is this year as it was last year. But what do you think that the Browns can do this week to contain Jaden Daniels?
Yeah, I think that they're gonna have to do a lot. Are you getting feedback from me actually?
That's perfect. That's perfect. I think we're good.
Okay.
No worries.
Um,
Look, hey, as we say, Allie, it's a live show. You know what I'm saying? We can only do what we could do.
yeah,
Come on.
having some major technical
It's all
difficulties here,
good.
but hopefully it'll be done after that. So, yeah, I mean, they're going to have to do a lot to contain him. He has been absolutely unstoppable. We talked about the stats for his first 4 games of the season, but if that is proving anything, I think that there's not much that they will be able to do because he has been so successful on so many different levels. And then also, I did want to touch on the Vikings game because that's right when I cut out, but of course,
Right.
that's something that I am interested in. I definitely think the Vikings will come back undefeated. Sam Darnold somehow has proved to be a very, very successful quarterback this season. I thought that losing McCarthy was going to set them back so much, but Kevin O'Connell has really put so much faith in him. And it's been risky at times because Sam Darnold is, he's a lot and doesn't always make the right decisions, but it's been successful and he's put faith in him. And Darnold is really good at spreading out the ball. And so I think that the Vikings will be able to remain undefeated. And it looks like we lost someone else.
No. You know what? Honestly, I'm trying to. The Mets just went up. I hate to be a distraction. The Mets just went up 3-2. I'm trying to find a remote to put it on the TV because I'm like, playoff baseball's at its finest. So I'm sorry if I threw you off your little
No,
mojo.
you're very good. But yeah.
EP, please. Do we not have EP? We don't have EP's audio. It's
Yeah.
a lot going on. Listen, and I say this: we sometimes have the best shows when things are kind of going a little unorthodox, Ali. It's a little funny today. I don't know what happened to EP's audio. It's okay. But I will say, Jesse Winker is now at bat. I'll just update you guys. It's top of the ninth, 2 outs.
Okay.
And so it looks like Jesse Winker's got an 0-2 count right now. All right. Well, we'll see. I want to see what happened. Okay. Pete Alonso, 3-run home run. Wow.
Gotcha.
Lindor and Brandon Nimmo scored in the top of the ninth. Man. So we got some good wild card baseball there. EP, do we got your audio back yet? No? All right. While he works on that, let's talk about the Colts and the Jags. And before we do, because there's a lot to get into with Colts Jags, the Colts haven't won in Jacksonville since 2014, unfortunately. But we did win in Lucas Oil Stadium last week. I hope Brill is here. I know we have some watchers, some viewers here. Shout out to SP, shout out to Lou for letting us know that the Mets went and took the lead. Brill, if you're here, make yourself present in the chat, buddy. I wore black for the funeral, which was Justin Fields and the Steelers offense. I mean, what a great defensive performance in the first half for the Colts. We really shut them down, up 17. And in a game that looked like we had full command of, I want to give all the credit to the Steelers and Justin Fields for staying in there. And Justin Fields mainly for coming out and really, really putting up numbers that Steelers quarterbacks haven't put up in years. So him to come out and throw for, 300 yards and score 3 touchdowns and make a comeback, give his team the opportunity to, win the game at the end of it. You got to give the credit there. But at the same time, it was hate week last week. And I told Burrow what was going to happen. He told me we weren't going to score 10 points. I don't know what kind of Colts highlights he was watching, but that's what happens when you're one-sided about things. It's basketball season ramping up now. We're going to get into a lot of Heat-Knicks rivalry talk. I've got Knicks fans in my Twitter mentions right now as we speak. It's just a lot of rivalry between Brill and I, so I had to get there personally. But on the serious side of things, Anthony Richardson goes down and hurts his hip and brings in Joe Flacco. And this is why I say there's a lot going on with this Colts because, do I want to watch Joe Flacco play for my team? I do. I'm not going to lie. I want to see him sling the ball at 40 times a game. And hopefully, our receivers can get 80 yards, 90 yards. Anthony Richardson. Yeah, we got you. Anthony Richardson is a young quarterback who is still making mistakes and still making errant passes. So with Joe Flacco, it gives me the calmness and the confidence that he knows the offense. He knows where guys are going to be and he can put the ball there. But obviously, as a Colts fan, I'm still sticking with Anthony Richardson, riding high, expecting him to be back this week and better, and get us our first win in Jacksonville since 2014. So, Ali, if I can ask you about this, I think EP has a better question for you.
Yeah, no, you're good.
You in regards to
you went over a lot of the things that I was gonna with the setup anyway. The Colts looking for their first road win, and looking for the first win in Jacksonville since 2014. Jags looking for their first home win / their first win of the season in general. Ali, June is a resident Colts fan, lifelong Colts fan. So we know who he is on. Now, who do you think is gonna execute this weekend in Jacksonville?
Well, I personally think that the Jags have dug themselves into a hole that is nearly impossible to get out of at this point. So if there's any opportunity for them to finally get this win in Jacksonville, it's this year, because this Jags team that I was semi-hopeful for coming into the season hasn't been able to gel as a team, hasn't been able to figure anything out. Everyone's hating on Trevor Lawrence, I feel like, but it's a group challenge that they're all facing, and I will be honestly amazed if they're able to pull through.
Hey, man, I love divisional games. I believe that the Colts are... I have it here. 3-point underdogs on the road in Jacksonville. Once again, Vegas saying, hey, Jacksonville is only as good as their home field advantage. We'll see.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a dogfight. You guys do have some key injuries right now. I think Zaire Franklin's questionable. He's just under the weather, so I'm sure that he'll show up
Yeah,
to play.
he'll be all right.
I know Jonathan Taylor's questionable, but he had limited practice today. But I'm sure that everybody will be ready to go, suited and booted, as they say. Ooh, the Ravens swept the Bengals last season. One of those games was against a Joe Burrowless team. June, is this the spot the Bengals get their first home win?
I mean, EP, you know me, man. I'm like, I'm a big Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase fan. What can I say? Tyler Boyd going to the Tennessee Titans is such a huge loss for them. Joe Mixon going to the Texans is an even bigger one. We haven't seen the same offensive explosion that we have from years past with this Bengals team. They also lost the likes of Jesse Bates, and it feels like it's just a lot or too much to come back from at this point. And with the loss here this week, their season is kind of, at that point. I'm expecting them to play with every ounce of effort they have, but I think I came on here earlier this week and said, I mean, we're seeing the Ravens play like the best team in the NFL, and the way that they're playing right now with Lamar Henry, I was going to say, but the Lamar and Derrick Henry combination, it looks too lethal to stop. What you think, Allie?
I agree with you. I don't know if there's any stopping this Ravens team, especially with how the Bengals have been so inconsistent. I am really excited to watch this game and kind of see how it plays out, because this will tell us a lot about both teams, because they've kind of had some changes and some progressions as the season's gone on. But the Ravens this past weekend finally seemed to gel together like the team that we knew last season. So they're finally figuring out how to effectively employ their players, and they played the game on their terms. They seemed very in control against the Bills and kind of were able to expose their defensive deficiencies. So I think that that's something that the Bengals are not going to be able to compete against, unfortunately.
Hey, a Bengals loss is a good day in my book. I'm just a Bengals. I'm just a Bengals hater. So there it is. I like to see. I do like to see Lamar Jackson do good. He's from where me and June are from in South Florida, the South Florida region area. So I love to see him do good. I do think that the Bengals are just. I mean, I've thought it since last season, probably about this season.
Yeah.
They're just it's wraps, and they got to figure out how to invest into an offensive line and some other key components to help I'll be frank, to help a very talented quarterback in Joe Burrow.
Bro.
He just
Go ahead, bro.
He just needs some help. He just needs some help. Let's take it down.
It's his hair change this year. It's getting to him.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie. They said he's. You know what? I'm not gonna make that joke. But go ahead.
Let's take it down to H-Town, where the Bills are visiting the Texans in Houston. The Bills coming off a tough loss, going to play once again in Houston, that is undefeated at home. June, do you see a dominant performance from either team, or is this going to be a dogfight?
I think this one's going to be a real good battle between two really good quarterbacks and two MVP candidates at the end of the season, in my opinion. CJ Stroud doesn't look like he's going to win the MVP right now through a month and a half, like a month and change. But if you take that fourth quarter and the ending of that game, really, I mean, that's MVP football. And if you look at his numbers under pressure, MVP football. So Josh Allen is coming off of a tough loss against a really good team in a primetime spot. We talked about Lamar being 8-1 at that point in primetime games at home, only losing to Mahomes. CJ Stroud and Josh Allen can be another one of these young AFC quarterback rivalry matchups that we see for the future. We didn't expect the Bills to start off as hot as they did this season. They were, hit with the humble pie versus the Ravens. They're looking to bounce back versus Texans team and a team that struggled against a winless Jags team. So it looks like a formula for the Bills to go on the road. They're on the road, right? The Bills are going to Texas. It looks like a formula for them to go out and win. But I don't know, that confidence that Houston plays with at home, it's close to first nowadays in the NFL. And so a quarterback like that, it's hard for me right now to like bet against CJ Stroud. And I hate to say it because this is a kid I rooted for at Ohio State. This is a guy that I wanted to win the Heisman, that I wanted him to get, first pick of the draft. I just didn't want him to go to the fucking Texans. You know what I'm saying? I didn't need that. It happened. I'm not gonna hate him like that. It happened with Trevor Lawrence. I was a big fan of his in college. But we got Anthony Richardson, so I'm not that mad. And I'll always root for CJ Stroud. I think that the Texans are able to pull this one out on Sunday.
There's a couple of more games that we'll double back on in a little bit. We'll touch base on the Sunday night game, and we'll talk maybe a little bit on the Monday. You know what? We'll save Monday night for Sunday. We're not going to get it. We'll talk a little bit briefly about the Sunday night game. I want to kick it over to college football because, as we know, today is the first day of a football full calendar for the next foreseeable, month and a half, 2 months. So we have some top 25 matchups on a Friday night. Well, two top 25 matchups, one being Syracuse going to UNLV. UNLV in the media recently for probably not the best reasons, but hey, neither here nor there. Now, Michigan State does travel to Oregon to play the number 6 undefeated Oregon Ducks. Michigan State 3-2, 1-1 in conference. Oregon, like I just mentioned, 4-0, 1-0 in conference. June, you thinking the Ducks to pull off a dominant win?
Yeah. Michigan State is not the Michigan State we knew. This is not the Michigan State Draymond Green played for. But honestly, I'm not expecting. I thought that their quarterback was going to be able to come in. Dylan Gabriel was going to come in and put up like Heisman type numbers. Yeah. I thought he was going to be able to compete for, arguably being in that maybe last slot or just outside of the Heisman argument. He hasn't necessarily done that, but he hasn't played bad football by any means. He's only turned the ball over one time this season. Michigan State, at this point, turns the ball over way too much. And, they have a young quarterback over there in Aiden Childs. I don't know exactly how they're going to – to me, I think that Michigan State is just not going to be able to generate enough offense and keep up with Oregon. I mean, Oregon is a top 10 team. They were expected to be a top 5 team all season, really. The interesting thing now is like Oregon coming to the Big Ten, right? And them not just being the best team in their conference and them having to compete with the likes of Michigan's and Ohio State's and also, a Washington team that was in the playoff last year in the championship at that. So I expect this to be an easy route. It'll get ugly quick. That's why it's on Friday night.
Minus 23.5. Oregon are 3.5 damn near touchdown favorites.
Yeah.
Ali, what do you see coming out of this game? Oregon did have some, lackluster wins against Boise State and Idaho State. They let a couple of non-conference teams run up the score on them. Do you see a dominant win for Oregon this weekend or tomorrow night anyway?
Yeah, well, a few things to address there. One, I am a massive Boise State fan this year. I think that they're absolutely going to take that group of 5 spot, and I've been saying it since day one. So proud of that. Thank you. Yes. When they were playing Oregon, that was just the craziest game, and I was so locked in. And then it came down to a field goal. It was so close and all of that. But anyways, I think that Oregon should be able to easily handle business here. Otherwise, they don't deserve that number 6 spot. I think this should be a pretty solid win for them, getting moved up now since Ole Miss had that freak loss this past weekend. So they're getting even more recognition, so they need to handle business.
I love it. I do think that Oregon will handle business. If I'm not mistaken, Dylan Gabriel was at Central Florida for a year or two, right, June? Or am I thinking of somebody else? Yeah, he was at Central Florida for a year. He was at Central Florida for a year or two. He had an injury, came back, transferred, and he's looking competent, and he's looking like he can take a team to victory at this point, right? Speaking of Central Florida, let's take it down to South Florida, even though they're going to be in California. University of Miami coming off that crazy win against Virginia Tech that we spoke about on Monday. They will be in Cal, newly appointed to the ACC. Miami, 10.5 point favorites coming in the top 10, undefeated versus a 3-1 Cal Golden Bears squad. June, we spoke Virginia Tech. We said it was going to be a rout, and it was a sweaty
We did.
game.
We did.
What are we thinking is going to happen in California this weekend?
We did, and I'm still gonna stand on it's a route. And it's very disrespectful. What is this? You said minus 10.5. Like,
Yeah.
come on, bro. And I'm not mad at it in the sense that we showed last week that hey, we thought we were gonna rout Virginia Tech. We thought that we were gonna come in there and it was gonna be sweet, and it wasn't. And we had to rely on God at that point and thanking the refs for finally giving us a break. But a win is a win, right? We'll take it. We did move down a spot to the number 8 team in the country. I'm not mad at it. We're going to continue to win. Teams in the top 10, top 5 will continue to fall. Cal, this will be your welcome to the ACC moment. Get ready, belt to ass moment. You got college game day in town. We're going to bring a lot of fans. We're going to bring a lot of attention to the school. We're going to do all that for you. It's the glitz and glamour, of Miami in your city, right? You're going to get a first chance to see. I was going to ask you, Ali, you going to put money on Ashton Jeanty to win Heisman? Because what he's doing through 4 games, God.
Yeah. Well, funny thing, I actually work for the SEC network in production, so I'm legal
Awesome.
or not legally, but I'm not
Okay.
allowed to bet
Okay.
on the NCAA.
Let's do this. Don't bet it.
Yes.
I'm going to bet on Cam Ward to win the Heisman. Save your money. And it was just a setup, really. So 1,700 yards so far, going on 18 touchdowns, 4 interceptions versus a quarterback with under 900 yards. I don't want to hear about it. You're going to lose me in a second, so handle that.
Okay, so for the argument for Jeanty, he is so strong. We were actually talking about him on our show today, and we had like a Heisman segment. And with his current pace and what he's averaging, he's on pace to finish the season with 2,535 rushing yards and 39 rushing touchdowns.
Wow.
Absurd numbers. The last time something like that happened was with Barry Sanders' iconic Heisman winning season in 1988. And that was the most recent win of the Heisman Trophy from a non-Power 5 candidate. So
I leave and you start talking about Ashton Jeanty again.
Because he's putting up numbers to justify getting to New York, despite the fact that he's not in a Power 5 school. So I'll throw that out.
And I was being funny, and I will get back to Cal, but I mean, he's already put up numbers that guys won't put up in their season, and we've only played 4 games. I mean, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say what my whole ordeal. I love watching him play. He runs like a warrior. But I do think that wearing those blue uniforms and playing on a blue field should not be allowed.
It's crazy. It's wild.
It is pretty iconic. But listen, back to the actual candidate. No, I'm kidding. I'm not gonna do that to you. I'm not gonna do that to you. I'm not gonna do that to you. I'm just talking my shit. I'm in my passionate Miami bag right now because we are 5-0. We haven't been 5-0 since 2017. We all know how that season ended. We hope to change things this season.
Yeah.
Cam Ward making Heisman plays week in, week out. Xavier Restrepo being the MVP outside of the Heisman in our team. I expect this game to get ugly, probably closer to halftime. seems to start off kind of slow this season against, I guess, the more competitive teams. We haven't played a great team so far. But like I said, this will be the welcome to the ACC moment for Cal. But we're going to appreciate the hospitality over there in Berkeley and make our most out of that trip.
Absolutely. And listen, this game for Miami isn't going to be something that they are unfamiliar with, even though Cal was just inducted into the ACC. There's a lot of people on the Miami staff that have seen this Cal team before, or if not this specific team has played against Cal. Cristobal obviously was at Oregon. Yeah. He went 3-1 against the Bears when he was at Oregon. Cam McCormick caught passes against the Bears in Oregon 2017 and 2022. I mean, even our safety, Mish Powell, went 3-0 against the Bears during his time at Washington. Damian Martinez ran for a bunch of yards when he was at Oregon State. We got offensive linemen that have seen this team before. I am going to stand with you, June, and say that those 10 points are nowhere near enough. Amp that up. to like 21 and a half. It's going to be
Yeah.
what we thought that Virginia Tech game was going to be this
I
past
agree.
week.
Yeah, I think that coming off of the controversy of the Virginia Tech game and how close that was, they're going to respond, and it's going to be aggressive.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, that's a steal at -10, man. I'm about to go on the I'm about to go on the FanDuel app after we record and go put a little price on that. That's sweet.
Oh my God. Two words that are very iconic in college football. College Station. Let's take it down to Texas A&M. Number 9 Missouri visits the Aggies at Kyle Field. Texas A&M 2.5 point favorites at home. Again,
Yeah.
Missouri's number 9, Texas A&M number 25. Allie, how do you see this playing out? Texas A&M confident and dominant win, or does Missouri show why they are in the top 10?
Honestly, I think Texas A&M will have a confident, dominant win, like you said. Missouri has not shown us anything that we expected so far. They've really underperformed, and they were not facing opponents that they couldn't have shown us anything. So there's obviously some skills and personnel that are lacking there. So I really like their quarterback Brady Cook, but I don't think that they'll be able to keep up with the Aggies and the environment. It's in College Station. Yeah,
Yep.
that's what I thought, but just making sure that makes all the difference too. At home for the Aggies is a big deal. They have a raucous environment, so that will definitely sway the game as well.
June?
Yeah, my thing is I like Texas A&M coming into the season, and as much as you're saying that Missouri has underperformed, which I agree, I think that Texas A&M is to some extent underperformed, and more importantly, their quarterback has underperformed. And so what I'm seeing from Weigman is not what I thought we were going to see going forward. And so what I like about him as a quarterback is that he's confident, right? And that's what kind of keeps everything at bay. That's what kind of keeps, when things are going down, you can bank on somebody that's not going to lose their head and it's going to stick with you. So I do agree. I think that College Station is going to be rocking. Missouri having a great year. Missouri, they didn't lose yet, right?
They're undefeated
They have
4-0.
this would be their. I don't know their schedule. I don't know the rest of their schedule. But if they are going to take a loss, and it is going to be this one, you better make sure that this is the only one. You have a really good chance if you're Missouri to get to that playoff and do some damage. What you got, Allie?
If they lost here, this would not be their only loss because they go to Alabama October 26th, and then they also face Oklahoma, South Carolina, Arkansas, Mississippi State, to name a few. But they have tough matchups.
I think Alabama might be their only other loss if they lose on Saturday here. I do think Missouri hasn't played up to the standard that they could. I think that Luther Burden III is explosive and one of the most explosive players in the country, and having that is a weapon in itself. So Bama, yeah, I'll give Jalen Milroe and his Heisman and Ryan Williams and them boys, I'll give them that. But SEC football is tough. Go ahead, Allie.
Yeah. I will just say their last game, they went into double overtime against Vandy and only pulled through like 3 points with a field goal. So that's
it hasn't been pretty. It hasn't been pretty.
Yeah.
And so my thing is this week we're going to find out a lot about both of these teams here.
Yes.
And that's going to be the fun part about this, because Texas A&M can put their foot down and say, hey, look, we are competitive. We are good. And, we started slow. We're here. If they let Missouri come into their house and win this game, I think that builds all the confidence in the world for Missouri to go into the Alabama game saying, we got a fair shot, right? And as great as Alabama is and is playing, I'm not going to act oblivious to that.
Yeah.
Winning in College Station can do a lot to your confidence. And
Absolutely.
with confidence and skill wins football games. So that's the only thing I'm seeing. In this predicament, though, I can agree with Allie. It's been underwhelming over there in Missouri. And Texas A&M has dealt with their issues, but not to the degree of what we've seen from Missouri.
Yeah, this is going to be Missouri's first true road. Well, this is their first road game. This is going to be their, I would say their first true test. Texas A&M. I mean, both these teams' defenses are, out of this world. But Texas A&M being tied for first in the SEC, 7 interceptions. I mean, 32 tackles for losses, held opponents to 100 rushing yards or less in 3 straight games. And then Missouri, you have ranked third nationally in total defense, only allowing 219 yards per game. This sounds like an under to me, if you ask me, but I'm gonna say Missouri comes out victorious in a very close game. I'm gonna say 2017. Missouri pulls it off in the last couple of seconds is what I'm going to predict. All right, let's take it up to the Pacific Northwest. Number 10 Michigan visits Washington. Washington 1.5 favorites at home versus a top 10 school. June, does Washington knock off Michigan?
Man, this one's these college football games are tricky, man, because when you got a guy like, I mean, Alex Orji, we don't know what we're gonna get, from a true freshman quarterback like that. Michigan is dominant on that run, on that run game, and what they did to USC and how they were able to win, it shows that, hey, I mean, they're gonna find a way to win games. Washington, to me, doesn't do anything special. Michigan has an area where they dominate. Michigan, and who's home here?
Washington.
Okay, give me Michigan.
Allie, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm with you on Michigan. It baffles me that Washington is the favorite here. I understand that they're at home, but they are a shell of the team that made it to the playoffs last season. I don't even think that they are relatively the same, which might be extremely harsh, but they're not playing like it. They just lost to Rutgers last week, which should have been a game that they were able to handle. So if they're not able to handle Rutgers, I don't think they're going to be able to handle Michigan and Alex Orji's insane run game and the new offensive run game that they've implemented since adding Alex Orji. I think that Michigan has had some ups and downs so far this season, but a lot of that was before they started playing Orji. So I think he's going to help their team a lot. Now they have no passing game whatsoever. So that is something that if they are able to stop the run game, then they're able to stop Michigan altogether. But Michigan is very strong in all other aspects, I would argue. So I take them.
Love it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Michigan. Absolutely gonna have to go with Michigan. Yeah. I want to give a let me take it back to baseball real quick. The Mets are going to the division. This is crazy. The Mets are in the playoffs and they're being successful. They have pulled off the 2-1 series win in Milwaukee. Hey man, the Mets, they will play Philadelphia.
Yeah.
One of the hottest teams in baseball right now. I would say the World Series favorites, at least in the National League, for that matter. But kick it back to college football, and we're gonna go to Arkansas, right?
Yeah, we are.
Your Volunteers, Allie, are looking great. Couple weeks ago, week 2, NC State on WKGN 1304. You said, I don't expect this to be an easy win. I expect it to be a solid win. And ever since then, they've been making college football look very easy, right? Very easy. What are you expecting to see out of your Volunteers on the road this week against the Razorbacks, Allie?
First off, I love that you tune in. That's amazing. Second, I am expecting this to be a solid win. My only concern is that this is a road test for them. Oklahoma was our first SEC road game. We also had a neutral site game against NC State. But this is the first big, loud game. Arkansas is striping out their stadium, so they're going to bring the energy the most for this game. Oklahoma ended up being quieter than we expected. So my concern is that this is able to ruffle Nico's feathers a little bit more than he's used to. However, I don't think that's the case. You just have to, have some apprehensions as a fan, of course. But I think they're going to stay focused, stay prepared for this game and locked in, not looking ahead like so many other teams have fallen victim to. And I think if they are able to avoid injuries and block out the noise, that they are going to be able to absolutely clobber this team. Okay, clobber is a strong word. I think it will be a challenge for us. But as a confident Tennessee fan who's confident in our defense and in our offense, we're getting both John Campbell and Lance Hurd back on our offensive line, who were both out for the majority of the game against Oklahoma, who you can argue has a stronger defense than Arkansas. And Arkansas's defensive front is strong, but their backfield is not deep whatsoever. So I think that we will be able to run up the points, unlike the Oklahoma game where we relied on our defense a lot more. So I think it'll be more of a balance for this game.
Yeah, I agree. It is going to be a tough task, Allie. We spoke last time when you were on the show, and like EP said, you told us, oh, I think it's going to be tough. And that Oklahoma game, I mean, it was a close game, but it wasn't necessarily a tough game. I think you guys kind of exposed Oklahoma for what they can and can't do. And so it was a big spot. Nico, finally getting the shine and the primetime spots. Arkansas, right, has a close loss against Oklahoma State in double overtime. They go on to beat Auburn. They have a close loss against Texas A&M. So they're pestering these teams, right? We're not seeing Arkansas go out and not put up a fight. And their quarterback, I forget his name. His name is Taylor Green. There he goes, Taylor Green. I mean, he's turning the ball over a little too much, a little more than we'd like to see. And so I think that's going to be in Tennessee's favor as well. But he's a young quarterback, and he's exciting for college football. So he's got them going in the right direction at least.
Yeah.
We come to look at Tennessee and, what Nico's been able to do, only having 2 interceptions on the season. Dylan Sampson, 10 touchdowns. That's domination. That's 10 touchdowns is like good for a running back all season. He's got 10 touchdowns through a few weeks. And Deshaun Bishop as well is contributing in the run game too. So I think you guys we're going to see who the better team is. I don't know the exact game plan on how you guys beat them, but I'm sure coach will dial up the right one. And what I will say is, as much as Arkansas has been a pest to some of these other SEC opponents, I think you guys will kind of show that you are above those guys, not in the Alabama, Texas, right? But, not, maybe where Kentucky is, right? You guys find yourself, I mean, Tennessee and Kentucky are right here, right? Aren't they literally in the country, like bordering each other just like that? I mean,
yes.
I'm just saying.
Geographically,
I'm just saying. And what I saw from Kentucky, I understand, Jackson Dart, Heisman candidate, great offense. They held Georgia to like 13 points. Hey, I'm just saying, if you guys come out here, all right, put it like this, Allie, we'll be fair. If you guys blow this team out the water, I'll give you a above tier than Kentucky. But if you guys win this game, all right, that was a fair win. We knew they'd win all game and nothing more special than that. We're going to be looking at you like Kentucky until it, just because I can't put you in that top tier of SEC teams right now. I can't. I'm not talking about Florida. I'm not talking about, Vanderbilt. No, not Vanderbilt and, but like better than Missouri, a little Kentucky, Missouri. You guys are like right there.
Okay, well, I will say you're talking to the wrong Tennessee fan, because I'm all in on this team, and we have the offense of the 2022 team that got us so far, but what we didn't have in that team was the defense. And so this year we have one of the deepest defensive rosters in the SEC, which is a big, big accomplishment. And we've been able to show that by running up the score, but also we didn't allow a single offensive touchdown for, I believe it was 19 quarters of this season. So that's like an absurd statistic to throw out there. And we have James Pierce Jr., who actually hasn't been doing as much this season because there's been so many other people getting snaps and he hasn't been getting as many. So I think they're kind of saving him for the later games. But in terms of this game, I think what you will see that's more impressive than what you saw against Oklahoma is that Josh Heupel is actually going to play more aggressively because there was a lot on the line for that Oklahoma game. That was our
Yeah.
first win against a top 15 opponent since 2006 on the road. That's
Wow,
Cool.
crazy.
beautiful. Hey, listen, Allie. Listen, I'm here to get under your skin just a little bit. It's gonna be. Listen, you guys beat Chattanooga, NC State, Kent State. Those are
Yeah.
the first 3 games, and I
Yep.
hope you guys are putting up record numbers during that stretch. Oklahoma, I respected it because you guys made them look like, wow, they can't score nothing but 15
Yeah.
points here. On the road, you guys went. I'm gonna
Yeah.
acknowledge that. What you guys do here is gonna be very important because the next 2 weeks, this is your break, right?
Mhm.
This is the break. This is
Yeah.
show off what you got, Nico. I mean, just have some fun because tighten up. We got Alabama, Kentucky, Mississippi State, and Georgia.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the stretch of the year where we're not expecting you guys to go 4-0, and even 3-1. But you have to go 500 or better. And we would like to see you guys compete with Alabama and Georgia. We don't want to see the 2 possession loss. We don't want to see the 1 possession loss, but it was never really a game all game. We want to see Tennessee versus Alabama, whether it goes down to the wire or, it was 1 play away, whatever the case is, because that's what you're trying to sell me right now.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to tell you that Alabama's on a different level like Georgia is.
Yeah.
And I like to be proven wrong at times. I like to say what I say and, hey, prove me wrong. I'm not here to hope the worst for people, right? Unless it's like Yankees, Sixers, Celtics. That's when I manifest that. I'm just telling you what I see so far, and I do think that Kentucky-Tennessee game is going to be fun. I do.
Wow. It's funny because I haven't ever heard anyone in this point of the season compare us to anywhere near Kentucky. the Texases, the Alabamas, the Georgias right now.
Just yet. What Lee Corso said? Not so fast.
Yeah. So my prediction, and I'll say this right here, right now, and hope it ages well. And he's gone. I want him to hear this. Well, go ahead and say it. Sorry, we're taking over the whole
No, you're
show.
good. You're good.
But my prediction is that okay, here we go. Here's my prediction. Are you ready? We play Alabama. It's at home. It's in Neyland Stadium. We remember what happened in 2022, the last time that happened, and we didn't have a defense then. So this is going to be a much different game, even though I acknowledge how strong and incredible Alabama is and potentially the Heisman is on their team. So I understand that. But I
heard about that freshman, Ryan. I'm just asking.
Yeah, the 17-year-old, yes. So I think we beat Bama. I think it's extremely close. I think it's a dogfight. It's back and forth. And then I think regardless of what happens against Georgia later on in the season, I think Texas will have already beaten Georgia. And so I think we will go on to play Texas in the SEC championship. Calling it right now. UT.
I like this. I like
I
this.
love
And
it.
hey, I'm not against it. I'm not going to say I don't hope it happens. Look, I'm all for seeing the new king of the South. We've seen Alabama and Georgia do this far too many times. I'm ready for Texas to take over the SEC. I'm ready for Tennessee and Nico's run to shine. But is it going to happen? I mean, hey, Kalen DeBoer is looking like Nick Saban out there right now. Or is it just the fact that they've got a lot of 5-star kids on that team in and out every single season with the Heisman quarterback, And one thing I want to point out about Alabama is that Alabama used to be a run the ball and make a couple big throws and kill you on defense. Run that ball. Bryce Young, Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Milroe. I mean, we've seen 3 Heisman type play from quarterback.
Yeah.
So that's the difference where they're like, all right, you want us to get up with the date, we'll get up with the date. That's no problem. And so Georgia, Tennessee is going to be fun in Athens too.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to be there. It's going to be great.
We'll have you. Oh, that's awesome. We'll have you. Obviously, you're going to be here talking about UT versus Bama, UT versus Georgia. EP, you got
to. I'll come right back and talk about it.
Athens. How far is Athens out of Atlanta? Like 4 hours?
No, it's like an hour and some change.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like an hour and
From
some change.
Knoxville, it's about 4.5.
You might have to go see that.
We'll see. Hey, real quick, live look into Thursday Night Football. Buccaneers are creeping on Atlanta's 7-yard line. The score is 24. Buccaneers, Falcons 20 with about 3 minutes left in the third quarter. We are at about the hour 10 mark right now. So I want to jump into MLB really quick. I mentioned the Phillies were one of the hottest teams in baseball right now. The other hottest team in baseball right now, arguably, the Detroit Tigers. They were 10 games out of the playoffs, about 110 games into the season, and they're in the playoffs. The last 3 teams that did that won the World Series. They are playing Cleveland starting Saturday, June. Do the Tigers make it past this round?
And Cleveland having home field advantage might be the downfall for the Tigers. That park, is a dinger park, and Cleveland has a lot of good bats. This is also a division rivalry, so it's deep. This is going to be closer than a lot of people maybe have thought if Cleveland played Detroit in the playoffs maybe a month and a half ago. Detroit, though, does have the momentum right now, and they've been pitching pretty good. So, you know what? I'm going to ride the wave. Let's do it, because I didn't think that they were going to be in this position right now, and they've proved us wrong. Why won't we think that they can take this momentum from wild card baseball into the first round or divisional round and beat a divisional opponent? Why not? Sign them up. And Detroit is the city is alive right now. They got the Lions winning on Monday night. Wide receivers throwing, touchdowns. Perfect game from Jared Goff. Let's keep it going.
I was just about to say that. I hope that the Tigers win just for the alone or soul. What is the
soul?
No. The something fact. The alone fact. The lone fact, right?
Yeah, anyway. The lone fact is accurate.
Sorry, just for the lone fact that the Lions and the Tigers are 2 teams that are historically not that great and don't have winning seasons, and they're both making waves and playing incredibly. So what a time to be a Detroit fan.
Yeah, I mean, let's say professional sports in Detroit just aren't good typically.
There it is. The other matchup in the NLDS that I want to talk about, the San Diego Padres, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Early on in the season, we did not see the Padres getting to the playoffs. They were not hitting, and pitching was, a big factor. Their bullpen was struggling. Dylan Cease, newly acquired from the Chicago White Sox.
He got out of there.
Yeah, was struggling. But hey, look at him now. He's getting the start in game 1 against Yamamoto for the Dodgers. June, do you expect a dominant performance from the Dodgers, or is this going to be something close where the Padres can possibly pull this off?
We might get a game or 2 that the Dodgers dominate. I'll be honest. This is Freddie Freeman, Shohei, Mookie. Like, that lineup is too crazy to think that every game is going to be a close one. It is the playoffs, and the Padres have earned their right, made their stamp, and pitched well. But I'm not going to shy away from the fact that the Dodgers are who the Dodgers are, and they should win the World Series this year. And this shouldn't be the conversation. Is it going to be close? Like, they should win this game or win this series, if not in 5, if not in 6. If not in 5, then in 6. And I'm saying that confidently because of who they are. And we should have these expectations for a lineup pitching rotation that has, the players they do. With that being said, I mean, Fernando Tatis looks like he wants to turn it up right now, and he's got it. We know that. We know that he did his time for his crime, and he's back. And it's playoff baseball now. So they've put a roster of a lot of top guys in the league, right? The Padres did, and now it's time for them to shine. They've been doing it. They did it in the wild card, and, they get their NL West rivals. I mean, what better than to play, like the NL East series we have over there with the Phillies and the Mets. It's going to be good. I don't know that the Padres are going to be able to keep up for 7 games, though. I don't.
It's going to be exciting, man. Playoff baseball in full effect. By the way, I guess breaking news, the Falcons were able to hold the Bucks to just a field goal, so it's 27-20. Atlanta does have the ball back, looking to do some damage. Do either of you have anything else you guys want to go over before we get out of here?
Nah, man, I'm good. I want to say, Ali, thank you for getting on here. You still have your closing thought time, but I just wanted to thank you for getting on here. It's always a good time, and we'll be looking forward to seeing how Arkansas does against Tennessee this
Yes.
weekend.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me on. I will also say that the UNLV Syracuse game is going to be one. I think that's my next game that I'll be watching aside from
Oh,
the Tennessee Arkansas game, because that if UNLV is, um, upset a little bit, then that will make some room for the Boise State Broncos. So,
yeah.
so
I had another game I wanted to not touch on, but that I'm going to be watching in the 12 o'clock window.
mhm.
And forgive me, I had it up, but SMU plays Louisville. I'm interested because Louisville ranked 22. It's actually tomorrow night. We're gonna get a good Friday. Sorry, that's Saturday. I was looking at the Syracuse game. It's a Saturday noon game in Louisville. Louisville coming off of a loss versus Notre Dame in a close game. They beat Notre Dame last year, lost to them this year. Uh, Louisville looks to be maybe the next toughest, hardest game on the schedule. So I just want to see how they fare against SMU. A lot of former, players are playing for that SMU team under Coach Rhett Lashley, who was our offensive coordinator for a year or two with the Manny Diaz era. So I'm interested to see what they're going to be able to do versus Louisville, and then how, Louisville. I just want to see what it looks like because I really got going undefeated this year.
He talk that talk. Are we BACK June or not?
I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it. We're just gonna game by game. We're game by game. We got college game day. I'll be up at 9:30 on Sunday morning to watch Jets and Vikings, and then we'll talk about it on Sunday night.
Fair, fair, fair. In other news, June, you know this. Ali, I think that you know this. I am a newly self-appointed Atlanta United fan. I went to their second to last home game last night. Sadly, it was a loss to Montreal. I could be an Inter Miami fan. I'm from the South Florida area. I grew up June grew up a little bit closer than I grew up to the current drive-in stadium. But I grew up in that area. It used to be a high school football field, Ali. My sister went to the high school. I used to play at that football field.
Oh, wow.
I could be an Inter Miami fan. I sold them out, and they had one of the worst records last year. Now Inter Miami has one of the best records. Atlanta United has one of the worst records this year. They need to win out these last two games, Atlanta United, and then they need help from Toronto, Philly, and DC. They need them all to lose out, so it's not looking good for Atlanta United right now. But hopefully, we can win out. Those teams can give us a little bit of help. We can make it into the playoffs, and I think possibly have to play Inter Miami, which would be very interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, as we cross over this hour 17 mark, this has been your Thursday night All Things Sports talk show podcast on the All Things Sports Network, brought to you by Small Town Productions. If you tapped in on the live, thank you so much. We appreciate your time with us. If you're tuning in after the fact, thank you so much. You can catch Ali Monday through Friday, WKGN 1304. June, I do have your visual back. You can catch Ali Monday through Friday, WKGN 1304. Fox Sports Knox 6:30 to 8:30. You can catch us here 3 times a week, Monday, Thursday. We'll see you guys on the next one on